Here's a look at today's results in the Serie A. Salernitana and Inter playing out a 1-1 draw. Napoli bouncing back to winning ways after that big loss at home to Milan last weekend. However, the Rossoneri could only muster up a 0-0 draw against Empoli. The team's playing early because, of course, the Champions League is coming up, quarter-finals, when we will see the likes of Napoli and Milan facing one another. They face off on Wednesday. And Napoli coach Luciano Spalletti has been blaming the media for the 4-0 loss to Milan in the league last week. He said, "You attributed the concept of infallibility to us. We have always remained humble and calm, knowing that we have defects like all teams. It was only the skill of the players that brought out the best qualities that have made us win all the games. We know that Milan came to this match with the fear of losing it. And we probably, with all the talk that is being made, with the belief that it could be a filling match in the league to get to those of the Champions League." So it's the media's fault then, Nicky, for building Napoli up too much that they lost to Milan.
Yeah, look, I think Spalletti knows what he's doing, doesn't he? He's just trying to deflect the attention, or at least the blame, away from his players, which, of course, it's always interesting to see what managers do in these situations. You've seen Jose Mourinho take a very opposite approach sometimes with his players, where he wants to throw someone under the bus and get the sense of anxiety into his players that way, get that sort of need to drive on and give everything. But I think Spalletti just wanted to bring a bit of calm back to his squad after that, understandably, because it was a heavy defeat, and just put the blame somewhere else and then get his back together and say, look, you know you're better than this, which they are.
The absence of Victor Osimhen obviously likely a problem in this game as well. Didn't feature again this weekend, but is expected, or at least it's hoped, that he will be back for that Champions League clash with Milan, Nicky.
Yeah, it's touch and go for Osimhen. Again, Spalletti sort of made some optimistic noises before the game against Lecce this weekend, but he's definitely not certain. And I think you've seen how much they need him as well in these last two games. Obviously, the Milan game was a story unto itself. It almost feels implausible, given how good Napoli have been, that they lost a game 4-0 to anybody, let alone this Milan side that's been up and down. But even in the Lecce game, well, just today, actually, it was a really striking how at times Napoli didn't have that fluidity going forward. They didn't sweep this team away that's very much in the bottom half of Serie A. And when Giacomo Raspadori was injured, when Giacomo Raspadori went off in the second half, Giovanni Simeone, his replacement, was immediately injured. And suddenly this conversation we were having at the beginning of the season, where we really talked about the depth of Napoli being their greatest strength, the fact that they could call on Raspadori, Simeone, and those players scored goals in the league, in the Champions League, won games. Suddenly it doesn't feel like that anymore. It does feel like everyone's looking around and going, actually, could we get Victor back in here? Because he's the one we need. And it is a bit of a weight on this game for them. I think if he's not there, it's certainly going to be a big lift for Milan going into the tie.
Nicky, what does your instinct tell you? Who do you think is going to go through to the semis?
I still, on balance, have to expect it's Napoli. I mean, they're 20 points clear at the top of Serie A. They are streets ahead of everyone in Italy this season. But it does just feel like in the last week, they've looked vulnerable in a way that they haven't before. And I said this on my podcast the other day. What's come into my mind recently is that old Mike Tyson quote about everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Milan punched them in the mouth when they played in the league. They beat them 4-0. And we're still working out whether or not Napoli have really got the answer to that. But on balance, yes, look, I mean, Kvaratskhelia is a sensational player. Even if Osimhen isn't there, you've still got Lobotka, Zielinski, you've still got the midfield that works, you've still got Mario Rui and Di Lorenzo bombing forward from the fullback positions. It's still a great team, even without him in it. So look, I still think on balance, I have to think that team's going to win a tie.
It's interesting talking about him, though, isn't it, Nicky? Because there's been so much talk as to whether Napoli will be able to keep hold of Osimhen in the coming season. What are your thoughts on that, or what have you heard on that subject?
I think he'll go, but I think it will cost someone an arm and a leg, because that's how Aurelio De Laurentiis operates. He never sells for less than his players are worth. And I think between the two of them, again, everyone's been talking all season about Osimhen and about Kvaratskhelia. But Kvaratskhelia is someone who perhaps I think Napoli will feel like they haven't fully realised his value yet. He only arrived last year. He's got time and an opportunity to develop and establish himself, really playing in a top European league here. Whereas Osimhen, look, it's been 3 seasons now. This is the one where he stayed healthiest. This is the one where we've actually been able to see him. I know he's injured right now, ironically, as I say this, but he has mostly been available this season, and you've seen the result of that. It's by miles, Serie A top goal scorer this season. I think it's the right time for them to cash in if they want to get top market value. Perhaps he'll feel like it's the right time to move on, but again, he's not going just anywhere because the price is going to be over 100 million euros for sure.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.